Hello again, Kendopolis. My name is Dr. Kendo, and you are watching now the Scribblenauts Unlimited commentaries, where I create your favorite characters in this game, which is called Scribblenauts Unlimited, in this feature called the Object Editor. It's only available on the Wii U and PC versions of this game. We're going to start off with a bodybuilder as the source object for our first creation in today's objects, which are going to be the Pokémon Sun and Moon Alolan starter final evolutions. So we have created the starters in their beginning forms, and we've also created the middle forms of the starters, and now here is the final one. So we're going to type in a toothpick after removing the head and the legs from this bodybuilder. You can see that we've colored the chest part of the torso and everything, the upper part and the lower part now, along with the arms. And that toothpick is going to be for this like emblem that's there on the stomach for, we're going to actually finish it up with a sailfish too, but Incineroar is in keeping, I guess, with Litten and Torracat. They all sort of have this symbol or whatever. Sometimes it's on the back, sometimes it's on the forehead, or both places, or whatever. And so this sailfish back fin from the tail was the finishing piece of that. We did that twice among the toothpick. And then a kangaroo, you can grab the arm, basically the part where the hand is connected to the arm and everything, so the hand in essence, and then type in silver sword, make that a little bit black, almost all the way, and put it back here all around this kangaroo arm, hand, tail. So that's going to be his tail. On the 7th page of the 29-page library, there's a knight. You know, you could just type in knight and get probably very similar effects, but we took the knight's arm because the middle of that knight's arm we can paint black and everything, and so I liked the proportions of that to be kind of the stripe that's on the tail. You could even just do, though, a 10th page arm from the 29-page library if you wanted to take that mutant arm, which we're going to use for some other stripes, but I've used a golden egg right now to be kind of the biceps, I guess, these muscles right here over the bodybuilder arms, and then grass is next to those. There's some spiky fur and stuff here on either side of his head, and so that will be kind of attached to the shoulders, attached to the arms and Scribblenauts. And so there are all these stripes that we just added. You can see that that was the 10th page of the 29-page library of shapes. On that 10th page, kind of at the bottom, there's this mutant arm that's green. Claws is what you can type in next to get his paws, the big claws that he's got and everything. Then Iguanodon is what we'll type in after that to then grab the shin of the Iguanodon in the front. So it's the back leg, but the one that is in front. Does that make sense? Not the one that's behind. So anyway, that's going to be, I guess, for the upper leg, the thigh pieces and stuff for Incineroar here. A night elf, that's what we've got next up. And we'll go with the female night elf and take the leg. It can be the front leg or kind of the back leg, but I think the front one will be a little bit better for proportions and stuff. But the reason it's a night elf is for the bottom part of Incineroar's legs, the shin and the foot and all that. It does kind of have a line through it above the foot, so that'll be a good way to just use one stamp to accomplish kind of two different things, because there is a stripe there on the shin, ankle of Incineroar. 10th page mutant arm, stripes once again. We're going to do the flame belt in a little bit, and it's going to be a separate creation, but here we are on the properties editor. This is where you can edit health and scripting and all different kinds of actions and stuff for your characters. So I like to read background information and fun facts about the things that we create in this series at this time. So we'll start off with Incineroar. From the Pokémon Sun and Moon website, it says, as its fighting spirit increases, the flames that Incineroar produces within its body burst from its navel and waistline. Since the flames somewhat resemble a championship belt, they're known as its flame belt, and the Pokémon unleashes moves that use flames from it. In the heat of battle, Incineroar shows no concern for its opponents, and sometimes even launches attacks that strike the opposing trainer. As a result, many tend to dislike this Pokémon and keep it at a distance. So it certainly is interesting. Of course, Incineroar is a fire dark type Pokémon. I know that some people were worried, is he going to be fire fighting? Although he kind of looks like he could be fire fighting when you think about it, but fire dark also makes sense. Ability is Blaze, its weight is 183 pounds and a height of 5'11", which coincidentally is basically my height. So Incineroar is, in essence, as tall as I am. I don't mean my Dr. Kendo avatar because that's a little short Scribblenauts character, but I mean the real me. So anyway, starting off with the glue as the source object, you'll see here we have the finished design for the flame belt. Made it pretty small. In essence, you can turn on the little shadowy Maxwell figure to kind of get a size comparison. We basically made the belt stretch about as far as his head, so the width of Maxwell's head. I took away the pieces just so you could see that glue was down there, and that's what we started off with so that we can stick it basically wherever we want to. In essence, we'll obviously be sticking it on the waistline for the belt, but the first first thing that I'll type in here is a wisp. We sort of grab that upper smoke piece of the wisp. That's kind of the main center part of the belt. But then with the other main center part of the belt, there's like a yellow flame right there, and that was another piece of the wisp that's kind of in the bottom right. And then just smog is what I typed in. Smog is, I painted it sort of a blood red, almost dark red. It's hidden behind the yellow wisp flame that's in the front there in the middle. And the reason is, it's just because we can have a little bit more detail since we now have enough stamps to kind of do the belt, again, in detail. An ice fish, we're going to take the tail of the ice fish. That's sort of for this inner layer of orangish red color right next to the middle belt piece. So that's the left and the right next to the middle. But then using a goldfish, after typing that in, you can grab the back tail fin of the goldfish as well and make that be the far side, left and right, for the belt here. Also kind of painting it that orange color, but with the goldfish's tail kind of having a light to dark shading to it. I like that detail. So in essence, just kind of using all these different tail pieces like this one here now for the outer parts that are yellow of the belt. It's the sperm whale's tail. That, again, all these different tails and all the different shadings within them, they kind of allow us to make the belt have pretty flame colors and whatnot. But then we'll finish off the Incineroar creation by making the head. So of course a head is the source object right now, and in the third page of the geometry library, down on the bottom left corner, there's this shape right here. If you're playing in Scribblenauts Unmasked, that shape is called trapezium, so you're going to need to type that in. But in Scribblenauts Unlimited, we can just, again, go to that geometry library and grab it from there, paint it all yellow. It will be pink to start out with. That's going to be sort of for this main part of the eyes here, the outer parts. Dagger tooth is what we can type in next, and grab the middle body piece of that dagger tooth, put it up above where the chin would be, but below those eye pieces that we just did. A cannoli is what I typed in after that, gave it this sort of crackly pattern that's like black and white. We want it to look like teeth, but it would take so many stamps. You know, I keep mentioning this stamp thing. Scribblenauts Unlimited does have a limit to how many stamps you can use. I know that's counterintuitive to its name, but like this ivory that we're typing in and painting red on both sides here for these big long whiskers or hair, fur that's coming off of his face on both sides, that's a stamp. So is the toothpick. We're typing that in next. The toothpick is a stamp. Anything that you use to create your object overall is considered a stamp, and you do have a limit. So to get around that, that's why we're making the torso, the belt, and the head all separately, because we would not have enough stamp space within their limitations to actually fit all of that on just one creation and one object in the editor. But dunce cap is what we typed in after that to get these ear shapes. Put those both behind the head because we want to make the dunce cap pretty big, but the ears in essence are pretty small. The reason is to make the dunce cap big, I guess, I'm trying to convey, is that the ears will be a little bit more wide. And so then another toothpick was to finish off that emblem there on the forehead. A whalefish is what we typed in after that. Grabbed its front middle fin, put that on that dagger tooth body. Hopefully you noticed that there was also a dagger tooth body that was painted red to be kind of the chin there underneath the cannoli. Ivory pieces to finish off that fur there coming off the side. Up above these yellow parts of the eyes and stuff is going to be that sailfish fin again from the tail, and that looks pretty good. We're going to make a few more adjustments to things because everything needs to be organized as we go. Cuttlefish, we can take that middle arm tentacle part right there, the end of that, and so it looks just kind of like a little spike or point. That's going to be the big fangs here for Incineroar on both sides of the mouth. Dunce caps painted red can kind of finish off the fur that's pointing the most up. It's almost straight up and down, but there it is on both sides now. A dot is what we've used. That'll be the green of the eyes, with pimple gonna be the pupil. We're gonna paint that pimple all black, shrink it pretty small, and after the second pimple for the other eye, that's gonna be the stamp space limitations for the head here. So it looks like we got most of what we wanted. I know I would have liked to do other details and things like that, but sometimes you just have to sacrifice and try to fit as many stamps as you can in the smartest way that you can. In the properties editor, whenever you're creating a head and a body separately, you just want to make sure for your head object to go to the equipment tab and check off this third circle down. Here at the bottom it says can be worn on the face like glasses, and that should do it. So we can save that design and then go back to the field and we can type in all of our pieces of the Incineroar here. So the Incineroar's head, when we give that to the body of the Incineroar, you can see that the head looks a little bit awkward. You know, it's actually very close compared to other creations I've done, but most of the time you're not going to have the head fit exactly where you want it to go on the body. So what you do then is you just edit your body object, go back into the editor, turn these green grids on. To turn those on, you use this this little button on your left side panel of buttons and stuff that you can use. It's the top right button that has Maxwell's head and a banana and a wheel and stuff like that in the icon. It makes the green grids show up, and just move the head grid up, down, sideways, wherever you feel that you need your head to be. If your head is too low down, then you obviously want to move the grid up. Hopefully that makes sense. But now we're moving on to Decidueye. So starting off with the female wrestler as a source object, we took off the head, the limbs, all of that good stuff, painted it this white, almost cream color, and then typing in Cerberus first, as our first stamp is going to be the front leg, the one that's in the front, but basically like the foot of the Cerberus, although you can't really see a foot too much in that leg, and that's actually for good reason for us, because we're going to type in a talon to actually be for Decidueye's foot right here. Paint those nails almost that dark blue-gray kind of color, and that looks good. It's going to look really wonky right now, so it's definitely not even close to done. Just know that. An Archaeopteryx, you can see how to spell that on screen. We'll grab the kind of wing arm of the Archaeopteryx right there, and that'll be the wings for Decidueye. And we're actually going to add kind of these feather hands or whatever for Decidueye, and so we can type in Dory, and don't grab the boat, but rather grab the fish. It's not at all like Finding Nemo's Dory. It's not a blue tang, but grab that kind of fin that's at the bottom, in the middle almost, and it looks like these three little fingers. We use that as fingers over the wings right there. Make sure to also, whenever you had the female wrestler, make the arm grids really long so that they kind of match the length of these wings here. Hair on the shoulders. Silica is going to be the green that goes kind of just above the chest and across, like the neck, I guess you could say. A shuriken there in the middle with an X painted black over that. A spoon is what we just typed in for some leaves, I guess, that are coming off of, like they're coming out of that kind of middle flower. We made it a shuriken, of course, but in Pokemon Sun and Moon, it's like Decidueye has this flower right there. Really cool looking Pokemon. And of course, double everything for the other arm, you know, basically copy what we have on this arm and put it over there to the arm that's in back, except for this one, since we can see kind of the front or the top side of it, we'll put these ovals right there for the white dots on the wing, and that all looks good. So we'll read some background facts from the Pokemon Sun and Moon website. Decidueye. This Pokemon is able to move about while completely masking its presence from others. Once an opponent has lost sight of it, Decidueye seizes the chance to attack it unawares. In a tenth of a second, Decidueye plucks an arrow quill from within its wing and sends it hurtling towards its target. Its speed is astonishing, but not more so than its precise aim, which enables the arrow quill to pierce a target through and through from half a mile or more away. Decidueye usually acts very cool, but it can become terribly flustered in unexpected situations like a surprise attack. So almost like Hawkeye, it can aim really well, and I mean, it's an owl archer. It's completely epic. So we'll go ahead with a head as the source object. Go ahead. And that head will actually kind of cover up with a hemisphere, two hemispheres I should say, because this will be for the Decidueye head, and these hemisphere shapes are for underneath that kind of hood of leaves that it wears, which we can actually, for those leaves, for the hood, we can type in a tiger shark, grab the back fin that's down at the bottom in the middle, and that's going to look good. We'll paint it kind of this leafy color right here, but we're going to need a ton of them, and stopping at the leaves right here, we can actually then make the ones that are kind of in the back, you know, that are further away from us. We can make those a little bit darker shade of green just to show some shading and stuff like that. You'll notice, especially when you see Decidueye's comparison picture at the end of this, you know, I always show a comparison picture from like Google Images or whatever, and our Scribblenauts creation side by side. Well, you'll see what I mean in that the leaves on the other side, you know, it looks kind of dark because they're like the inner parts of the hood. And so then we just took this circle shape. You can basically grab any circle, and we're going to paint that this reddish, almost orange, and that's kind of around the eyes of Decidueye. There's kind of a layer of orange and a layer of this dark bluish, almost gray blue, but a little bit more blue. And Basilosaurus, we can grab the tail piece of that, so the tail fin right there, that's going to go above Decidueye's beak. And speaking of the beak, we can use Great White Shark. Once we type that in, we can grab the fin that is in the bottom middle, but in the front, and that'll be a pretty good beak shape once we kind of turn it around just a little bit. Not too much rotation is needed, but that's looking all right now. And so I'll grab another hemisphere right now. You can either grab it from the geometry library if you're playing in Scribblenauts Unlimited, or you can type it in, but if you're in Scribblenauts Unmasked, you're gonna need to type it in no matter what. And so then we'll go with a golf ball right here to be the iris, or the color of Decidueye's eye right there. And we'll do this on the other eye as well, because there's also a hemisphere down below the blue eyelid hemisphere. That'll be the main white of the eye right there. And then a pimple, we'll paint that red because Decidueye has these red pupils. It looks really cool. Again, this is just the ultimate big shot Pokemon. So we'll kind of put in some finishing touches here with a dinosaur. Grab the back tail piece. We're going to put that all the way up on the top of the hood, the head of Decidueye there. And the last stamp piece is going to be this yarmulke. You can spell it just how I spelled on screen there. And that yarmulke will be painted white, just like that dinosaur tail. Put it up above. You're going to, of course, need to shrink and increase the size of that yarmulke, and basically increase it whenever you feel that you can't move it any further. You know, if the game is limiting you and you can't move it farther away. To get around that, you just make it bigger and then put it back to the size that it was at. And so, of course, your scripting for the head needs to, in the properties editor, be that it can be worn on the face like glasses, and you're good to go. And so for our final evolution, that's going to be a seal as the source object for Primarina, and we're going to want to take away the head, of course, and the front flippers, and make those flipper boxes really big for the front flippers. You can see that I have the green grids on. I showed you how to do that earlier, so take those and just make those pretty big. For this kind of mermaid tail, you can almost say that Primarina's body is like separated into two kind of bodies, where there's like the seal body, but then there's like this mermaid kind of end tail body piece. And so for that, we have the Basilosaurus right before the tail fin, and next to the main body of the Basilosaurus, there's that one piece, sort of has a curve in it. That's what we used for the mermaid body. And then Canadian bacon is what I'm going to type in. You can use chicken nugget, you could use a lot of different shapes, but move both of these tail flippers or tail fins back behind the Basilosaurus mermaid body. But then going back to that kind of mermaid body and all of that section right there, we actually just typed in a veil a little while ago, and we're going to do that twice actually, because there's kind of the blue veil, but then there's like this white kind of outer decorativeness, I guess, to that tail as well for that mermaid tail. And to kind of separate the two bodies right here, there's almost like that tutu, you know, sort of like how Poplio and Brionne have tutus or frills of some sort. Well, Primarina's got it right there separating the body. For that, we just did mud here in Scribblenauts Unlimited. Using that same Basilosaurus near the end tail piece, we made that to be the front flippers or fins, and just make sure that you are putting those in the boxes that you had originally, those grids, you know, for the original seal's front legs, basically. Gravy is what we typed in to be the beautifulness here, kind of near the chest and the neck and whatnot. And then I also used a gravy to kind of show that tutu looking section that separates the seal body and the mermaid body. You know, it goes up and over all the way around. And so that's why we did a gravy, moved it back behind the Basilosaurus as far as layer order goes. So in order, it went backwards behind the Basilosaurus and kind of connects with that mud piece. So I just sort of think that gives it a full frilly look that goes all the way around the body. A viperfish was one of the spikes. You can take the little spike on the viperfish and leave it that pink color. And then a wedge, you want to take the tool wedge, not the shoes, for the bottom little pink spike right there on the mermaid body. And the last one was a dunce cap up at the top. The viperfish one was in the middle. And a jellyfish, you can take that upper tentacle piece that's close to the jellyfish's main body. It's just like a black line or whatever. That's on Primarina's flippers to kind of show more detail there. So we'll read from PokemonSunMoon.com again about Primarina. So here we go. As it dances, Primarina releases balloons of water into the area around itself, moving them using the sound waves from its voice. The sight of moonlight reflecting off its glittering balloons creates a magical scene. Since Primarina controls its balloons using its voice, any injury to its throat can become a grave problem. Its greatest enemies are arid environments and the overuse of its voice during back-to-back battles. This sort of almost sounds like my life and my wife's life, because my wife is heavily involved in musical theater, and I'm obviously broadcasting all the time to you guys, so I think I've probably done permanent damage to my voice with everything that I've put it through over the years, but that's all beside the point. Primarina, epic Pokemon. I think I've made the decision finally. I am gonna actually go with Poplio as my starter. It was very close between that and Rowlet. I know that I'm just gonna get worlds of hate and everything like that, but I've already discussed the Poplio and Brionne hate that the world had, and I'm sure they have it for Primarina, but they also seem to have it for some of, for instance, Pokemon's Incineroar. I saw some hate for that evolution, and people, unfortunately, are just gonna complain and hate over everything. It sucks. Anyway, starting off with a sphere as the source object, we're now going to make the head for Primarina right here with a horse, taking that back, well, it's the back legs, but it's the front one, that thigh piece, the upper leg, and paint that all white with a ping pong ball, painted pink for the nose right there. 20th page of the 29-page library, there's this arm shape in the bottom middle. You can paint it black and make it really tiny, put it down below, and that's going to be for the mouth. And this was an interesting stamp to kind of find one, I guess, where we could do one stamp to convey a lot of different things, a lot of design in it. So that was a snow crab. If a crab had biceps, that's what you're grabbing, but basically the connector of where its pincers are in the body, that kind of connecting piece. That's what we use for the eye, and I wanted something that was kind of glowing and shiny and everything like that, so that was a good stamp. And a new one for the series. Anyway, grass was behind that, painted white, and of course ordered behind it by layer. A starfish is going to be for, in essence, what could be a starfish, but the star that is there where kind of Primarina's ear would be, I guess. A pom-pom, that's what we'll use kind of for the main bulk of the hair here that is closest to the head. And then a golf ball, that's going to be for some pearls. So we've got about 3 golf balls I think we'll do. We'll add more later if we need to, but slime is what I'm going to type in next. And slime, we can actually make that a little bit bigger than it comes out as, and that'll be like this veil kind of that's in between that bulk of the hair right here and the head of Primarina and all those pearls and stuff. And so beautiful Pokemon. Then we'll take these golf balls, do another 3 right here that are going to connect the pom-pom to what we'll probably do another pom-pom, I think, because basically Primarina has this crazy long flowing hair that goes everywhere. It goes like straight up, it goes out, and all different directions, so kind of defying physics probably, gravity, and whatever. So after that second pom-pom, we're now going to type in another golf ball, but I guess before I finish off those, I'll take this dog tail. You can either type in dog tail or go to the 29-page library, and on the second page, kind of in the top right, you can see the dog tail there. So now we'll take those golf ball pearls and just kind of be, again, you're going to see me increasing the size a lot, and that's because we're moving way far away from the source sphere that we started off with, and so the game only lets you move so far, so we have to make it really big, move it over, then decrease it back to the size that we originally had it at. But this is so cool! The final evolution's right here, look at it! I want all of you to look at it. Look at it! This is so epic, but I will say this episode has gone on probably long enough, too long to be honest, but I really wanted to, of course, take the time to explain these and take the time to do these right. Definitely hope you've seen my other Sun and Moon Pokemon creations, because now we've got the full lineup here, and I just appreciate everybody's attention. You guys are the bomb. And so just remember, as always, I create whatever is most popular and most requested by the most amount of different viewers each week here in the object editor. So I will catch you on the next vid, and thanks for viewing.
Down the road of twists and turns, always anxious to see what's within. We can look ahead to the point of no return, to the rest of our lives with the